Hello, this is another training video for use of TMS in Department of Art and Culture at the ROM. Today we're looking at queries. So object queries. So if we go to objects, you can see there's a number of ways of querying. They're not put in any meaningful order. The easiest, simplest, shall we say, way of finding an object is find object. The second simplest is the query assistant, and the most advanced is the advanced query. So find object is simply, you can search for department and there'll be a pull down. The art and culture departments are called world cultures. Object number, you can have a range of object numbers, object title, object name, rendition number, and you can search for constituents through this. So you're actually better off looking in the constituent module to find constituents. So it's very simple, you just got a number and that sort of thing. So the query assistant is a bit more complicated. So if we go to that, so this gives you a group of fields, a list of the available fields that you can search in. This is where the manual comes into use. You'll notice here that on this, my cursor is big. I try to make my cursor bigger for the presentation, but it doesn't seem to work in TMS. So this is the manual, which you should all have. Some people like to print it off and like browse through it, but it's actually quite useful being able to use the search function to search for specific things. So this is something to be very useful when you're looking for a field, because it'll tell you quite often where to find it. So here in the query assistant, there are a number of fields. If you hit a key like D, it'll take you to the beginning of D, or F, or N. So if we go back to D, department. These will be the departments in TMS. And this will then give you the list of departments to choose from. So let's say Greek and Roman. Next. So this is the query as it is standing now. Everything from world cultures, Greek and Roman. So you can search the database now. You see here, search database now, click next, or add another search condition. So let's now look for object name. Okay, so object name. So then you have just this open field, and let's put in sword. So it says at least one word, so this will get everything with sword in the object name, and so we say next. So this is now, we are getting all the swords from Greek and Roman. Okay, so let's search the database now, say next. Okay. Interestingly, this is on the wrong form, user form. This is, if we go to view, this is currently on starter data entry, which is a TMS form, and we tend to not use it in most of our cataloging because it doesn't actually have some of the fields we use. We have the form that was in the introduction. Takes a while to reload. Okay, so this is the normal form you'll be using, although seeing the gallery systems form is quite useful. I'll actually should be showing it to you for a reason in a moment. So we're looking at all the swords in Greek and Roman. There are 89, and there's quite a lot of different types. So what we'll want to do, so if we click on query, Another interesting thing is history. So here you can see the history of the query is 89 records, and this will eventually have a list of all the queries you've done that day and what the results are, which will be quite useful. But if we go back to the query assistant, so we want to refine the current, you see it actually keeps the query. So that query is still related to the results, which is quite nice, which is something that doesn't actually happen in the advanced query. So let's refine this. So we say next, and let's look at date. So what we want is not actually the date, but the end date, the end ISO date. Okay, this enables us to look for actual dates. So let's say we want all the swords made before 200, before a certain date. And we say next, and we try that. So search the database now, all the swords made before 200. So now it's down to 41. So this is all the earlier swords, Bronze Age and this sort of thing, Hungary and various other countries. So let's do this query again. See, the history is now two different. The first query is 89. This query is 41. Let's go back to the query assistant. Now let's refine the current selection again. Let's look for another thing. I'm going to hit C now to take me down to the C's and look for country. And we say next, and this is one of those fields which actually gives you a list of all of the possible entries. If I'd started with country, there would be lots and lots of them, because there's a lot of unfortunate double entry which we hope to eventually deal with. But you can see this is only a list of those countries for which there are swords in Greek and Roman, the Greek and Roman section, which are swords and have an end ISO date before 200 AD. So if you wanted to get all the ones from Germany, you'd have to include Germany and France, or all the ones from Greece, you'd have to include Greece and Italy. Now, in this query assistant, you can actually do that. So you can have, so I'm putting my finger on control now, and so now I've got everything from Greece and everything from Greece, Italy. If this was a long list, and we had done this at the beginning, we'd have Greece and various other places. There might be Italy, Greece. There might be Greece, Turkey, and we'd have to look for each one of them, which is why in an ideal world, if we could get this down to just a list of countries, it would work much better for us. So let's include everything from Greece and Greece or Italy. In fact, let's have Greece and Italy. Next. Let's search the database now. So there we have it. We have 5 swords that are from either Greece or Italy, which date before 200 AD. So that's how you can build a query using the query assistant. So here's the history. It goes from 89, 41 to 5, and you can go back to the query assistant, and it keeps a record of what you've been doing. Okay, that's the query assistant. Now, the advanced query is very different. Here is kind of blank, and you're looking at what's a field group. I don't know what's going on here. And so this is where it helps to have the manual, which will often tell you what the field group is. So most of the fields you care about will be under, let's go down down. There's all sorts of groups of fields. And we have to go down, down, down to object cataloging. Object cataloging field group. So then we go to the field name, and has a lot of the fields you might want to be searching for. Title, technique, is it on display, the object count, material group, material, all these sort of things. Another important one is object cataloging, which will give you the cataloger and a number of other fields, which are general fields. If you want to find out where something is from, then you'll need to go down to geography. So here you have all the geography assistant fields. So this is where you would find country in this case. So let's actually look at country. So country now equal to all of these entries. So here you can see Afghanistan right at the top. You have Afghanistan, you have Afghanistan, Nuristan. I don't think Nuristan actually is a country. I don't know whose record that is. But here, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan. So if you wanted to get something which may be from Afghanistan, you have to include all of those. But unlike the query assistant, the advanced query won't allow you to just say, I want all of these. What you have to do is say, I want Afghanistan, or I want Afghanistan or Nuristan. And you have to do this for every single example of Afghanistan. This is really why it would be nice if there was only one Afghanistan in the list. One of the problems, of course, apart from you just have all of these Afghanistans, is it's also possible that there may be Afghanistan somewhere else. There could be, like, I don't know, somewhere else and Afghanistan. Just down to the D. So we're not going to worry about that. So you can see how this now becomes more complicated. Let's say this one. So if you execute this, everything from Afghanistan, sorry, or, okay, and execute that. I don't know if anything's going to happen. There are 527 things which say they're from Afghanistan. Here you have one catalogued by me. Isn't that nice? I catalogued this, and it just says Afghanistan. So this is how it should be. So here it says Afghanistan or Pakistan. So what I've done here is taken the most likely and had that as the actual geography assistant data, because you don't want to say origin Afghanistan and origin Pakistan. This might mean you won't get this if you're actually searching for everything which may conceivably be from Pakistan. So a problem with this is you can't then go back to the query. You can't just now go back and say, well, actually, I want everything definitely just from Afghanistan, because that's not how it works. However, you could go to the query assistant, and this records. So if you actually want to modify your query, and it's not a query you're keeping, then this would be a good way of doing it. But if we actually go back to it, so if we go and do, see the history now is all those swords as well as all these things from Afghanistan. We go to the advanced query. If you're working on a query and you execute it, it might be a good idea to save it first. So here are my saved queries. And this is quite a useful trick. You'll notice that all of my queries start with numbers. And this is the one I'm working on at the moment. Just get this thing online. And its number is, it's 1, _11, get online, and this is at the top, and all the 2 things and 3 things and 5 things, because underneath that you have all these other queries which have been saved. A lot of these are actually by natural history. Brian Iwama, Invertebrate Paleontology, seems to be making a lot of these global. So please never click this button, ever. If you need to save a query, work out another way of doing it. There is actually a way of running a query and finding a group of objects and sharing that group of objects through what is known as packages, which I shall do a little video on later on. But never global. Okay, so if you create a query and you want to save it, give it a number, give it a name. I would recommend you give it a number, so all the people that create all these global queries do not interfere with your list. Okay, so if we go back to cancel that for a second, there are all of these other fields called attributes, and a number of these are actually quite useful. For instance, the primary collection area. The primary collection area is a specific collection which will have a single curator responsible for it. So the primary collection in this case is the South Asia primary collection area, or collection group, I think it is actually. Let's move this over. Group, not collection area. Please remember, because there is a collection area as well, which I think is actually a natural history field. And so this is the South Asian collection group, and there is a responsible curator for that collection group. There are also other groups of fields called text entries. So here we have weight. Here are some old fields we used to have from our previous database, local use fields. What this means, that the entry is yes. So what it means, I have no idea, but it's still stuck into the database. So these you will probably need to use the query assistant, no, the advanced query. So in the advanced query, you have to look for this type of fields. Attributes, which luckily is near the top. Text fields work like this as well. So you click on attributes, and here you have absolutely nothing you understand whatsoever. None of these are fields, unlike geography and certain other things. What this wants you to do is actually put this in. So you can mess around with this. So thesaurus cross-reference type, you can like press this, okay? But what you want is a little arrow here, because what you're looking for is something that gives you a list, which is actually this, thesaurus cross-reference type. And this gives you a list of the fields, of the attribute fields. So here we have a list of the attribute fields, and there's all sorts. Some of them are, see, here's geological origin, geological time, that are available to you. So let's look, let's hit C, which will take you to the C's, and we're looking for actually we're looking for primary, not collection here, primary collection group. There we go. But so this now tells you what field, which attribute field you're actually looking for. So now you need to go here, and so you can see the term. So you're looking for the term, which is in there. So you put it in quotations. Unfortunately, in this case, even though this is a restricted list, you have to remember precisely what it is and type it in. And execute. I'm not saving it. It might be a good idea if I did, but I won't. So this is now a query which has selected all of the objects in that collection group, that primary collection group. Now, if we go back to this, 527, so you can see the primary collection group, South Asia. So in that case, we've selected everything that is in this primary collection group. So another group of fields, which sometimes people look for, are called flex fields, which you can't actually see on this form because they are problematic in TMS and actually slow down the database significantly. So, but let's search for it anyway. So in this case, query, advanced query again to find the flex fields. This again is, if you want to find, is this a flex field, you might want to be looking in the manual for flex fields. Of course, what you're actually looking for is your field, the pattern name number. This is actually a firearms field, and it tells you this is a flex field, so you'll know where to find it. So here we want to find the flex fields. Unfortunately, it's not under flex fields. You have all these flex field groups, which are natural history groups. Where it actually is under object flex fields. Okay, so in this case, you do get a list of those fields. Here's band of origin, for instance. So in this case, let's put in an asterisk. Let's see every object with a band of origin. There are 1,429. Okay, now as I said, when you're looking in flex fields, you will not see this here at all because it makes the form incredibly slow, and not every section actually even has flex fields, and so we don't want to slow everybody down for what is data just used by some. So if you do want to see your flex fields, you need to go to the standard data entry form, and this is it. So this is that first record. See, most of these fields we don't even use, and the flex fields are over here, and they take a long time to come up. So here you go, band of origin, Udabe tribesmen. Yes, it's that slow because of the flex fields. See, this form is the no flex fields form. So that is how you search for data, search for fields. You can mix it up. You can start off with an advanced query and then move to Query Assistant and do it different ways. But once you have got your group, you will find it's very useful to work like this. And of course, one advantage of the advanced query is once you've built your query and you know exactly what it is you want, you can save it. And so no matter how complicated it is, you can save. Of course, I'm picking all the easy ones. You can save that really annoying one. See here, this is an attributes based field, and so you don't need to remember how on earth do I do that. You just save it once and you're good to go again. So there you go. So I hope you found this useful and educational.